Ya, screen gua kelihatan nggak? Kita follow dia ya, guys, ya. Kita unfollow ya kalau announcement-nya aneh-aneh ya. Announcement-nya di mana ya? Bakalan di mana ya? Ini strategic Bitcoin reserve tiba-tiba nge-pump, ya. Ya, yang on ETH. Gua rasa, guys, tesis gua itu yang nge-pump itu bakalan yang on Solana, guys, karena oh, udah, guys, tuh. Mana nih? Udah jam 10 nih. Kita nonton Mario, guys. Masih ngetik dia. Mana? Di sini. Mantap ke $5.
Gesturing that he would announce the initiative for a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the United States. He came short in that speech of actually saying that he would do it, but she immediately rushed out on stage holding a bill that she filed on the Senate floor for a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Tuh, guys, pada sependapat, guys. SBR, guys. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, guys.
Government proposing to buy millions of Bitcoin, percentage of the supply over a number of years. Really, the most aggressive and positive version we could ever imagine of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And now, obviously, we've been waiting.
ACA-nya buset. Buset.
Mentioning this, but she has been the senator long, supporting our industry and has been spearheading this. I'm glad, Dennis, you're here. Do you have any intel? I know you know her on what this might be.
So I think it's smart to assume that there could be a variety of different big Bitcoin announcements here. Obviously, the executive order being the biggest possible announcement, but there's other ways that she could be making announcements here, including the reintroduction of her legislation. She's going to be needing to reintroduce her legislation in the new Congress. And also, there's opportunity for her to potentially pick up co-sponsors here. So I know that finding a co-sponsor for this legislation has been critical for her and her team. I sat down with Senator Lamas in Washington, D.C. We were together for roughly an hour. We sat together for a 45-minute interview, and then, on the bookends, 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the front beginning. We had quite an opportunity to talk and share our viewpoints on the importance of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and also talk about the importance of the work happening at the federal level and the state level. So, in my opinion, I would say that clearly the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve executive order here is the most exciting potential announcement that could take place. But there are a variety of other announcements that could take place. I think the most obvious one being the reintroduction of the legislation or a co-sponsor for that legislation as well.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, listen, big things are coming when the Bitcoin B logo is out of character for her. Right. I mean, she's not exactly like the type to go fully hyperbolic and, tease announcements of announcements. So you have to imagine that this is whatever it is significant, because she would understand that anything that was like a small announcement after tweeting something like that would be a letdown, right? I mean, if you look, which is crazy, charts always sort of seem to align with the market, but Bitcoin basically pumped from 101,000 sub 102 certainly to over 105 in 35 40 minutes, clearly on this announcement, right? And so there's an expectation here that this is going to be something really, really meaningful. right? Awesome. Our team is amazing, by the way, at
100%
getting
agree with
guests
you.
and doing this. Yeah, it's kind of, she knows better than to like tease something like that and then it's a nothing burger, right? So my assumption, knowing her as well and having dealt with her, is that she understands
What
what's
the
doing,
fuck?
and there
Ini
is this
apaan?
expectation that something big is
Orang
coming, regardless of her tweet, right? I mean, everybody's been holding their breath daily, waiting for some sort of executive order or mention that could be
tahu-tahu
a
Trump,
catalyst
guys.
for the next
No one
move here.
knows sih.
We have
No
Ron
one knows.
Hammond here, our team, guys. Amazing getting this panel up here so quickly. All credit to the team. Who's the senior director of government relations and institutional engagement, Blockchain Association. That means this dude's lobbying his ass off for us. So, Ron, do you have any intel on what this might be, what this might look like?
I'm gonna wait and see what the official announcement is. I mean, there's been a couple things that their staff has been teasing for a little bit here in DC. So we'll wait and see. You know, my first inclination was more the executive orders. I know she's been the senator has been in touch, obviously, with Bo Hines and David Sachs over there, as well as the rest of the Trump team. So I'm hearing rumors that
Jam
we'll
11 sih,
get the
guys,
EO.
harusnya,
It
guys.
could be this, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully momentarily, because that was quite the tease at the last second.
Yeah,
Hey, so
quite the
do we
tease at a
know?
very specific time. 10 a.m.
Do you know if we know if that's 10 a.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Wyoming time?
It'd be Eastern. They're in DC.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Wah, 10 AM
My first
Eastern,
thought,
guys.
Brian, was damn it. We have to talk for 2 hours about nothing until it actually happens. So, I mean, the kind of things here, in my opinion, anything short of an executive order
Benar,
would
guys.
be a disappointment. Is that a fair assessment? Or what do you guys think? Dan, you're giving me the
10
100. You
AM
think so?
Eastern itu ini, guys.
Yeah, as
Jam,
you
jam
say, she knows
10,
what she's
guys.
doing. This is not her first rodeo. Something this big at this level, yeah. She also doesn't have form for doing this. It's not like she constantly does this, right?
Masih kena macet.
I agree, and I agree
Yeah, you
with
don't.
you guys. I think this is EO related. That's based on absolutely nothing, just my gut feel, but that's what I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, go ahead. Steve, can you guys hear Steve? I can't. I don't know if it's a glitch.
I can't hear him.
No, can't hear him.
Okay, Steve, your mic's not working, so I'm gonna knock you down. We'll invite you. Close your app. Come back in. We'll invite you back up. Brian, yeah, you obviously were agreeing with me. Anything short of an executive order here would probably be a letdown on an announcement like this.
Yeah. I mean, from a price standpoint, where are we at? Like 106,000 or so, 105.3. I think that if you got anything but an executive order, you're going to see it dip. If you get an executive order, it's definitely going higher. I think.
Udah, guys.
Can you
Nonton
imagine if we
sendiri-sendiri
got
aja
the
lah.
executive order and it went down? Wouldn't that be the
Price
funniest
enggak, guys.
scenario for
Karena
Bitcoin price
belum ada
action,
announcement-nya,
the
guys.
most unpredictable / predictable
Belum
thing that
belum ada
could possibly
informasinya,
go down?
guys.
That would be hilarious. Go ahead, Ron.
One thing I will flag, and this could be related to the timing here. So the Senate Bank Committee is having their first kind of organizational hearing. It's kind of just the kickstart to the next 2 years for the Congress, and this is, at least in somewhat, she's the major announcement that she is going to be leading that first digital asset subcommittee. So that could be partly in tied here. She might be saying other things,
Kamu
what
nggak jadi
the
ngomong, kita
priorities
nggak
are
jadi
for her
kayak macet.
subcommittee, or what legislation she wants to focus on. So that could also be one thing as well as in the realm of possible options here, because that's going on right now.
Yeah, definitely possible. Feels let downy. Go ahead, Dennis.
Trump masih di WC mules.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can hear me now, right?
Yeah,
So-
Steve, go ahead then, Dennis. Go ahead, Steve. We hear you.
Yeah. I was just going to say I wouldn't necessarily expect a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think it's going to be a strategic crypto reserve. If you look at what's been happening with the Freedom DeFi organization
yeah.
and what they've been buying, and everybody says, well, no, that's
Ya,
that's
strategic
separate,
crypto
but
reserve.
it's kind of this.
Gila kalau strategic crypto reserve lebih
it's
besar,
been
guys,
relevant.
daripada SBR,
It's
guys.
very heavy on ETH. It's wrapped Bitcoin. It's Tron. It's Aave. One of the largest investors is Justin Sun, who also about the same time that Loomis posted big things are coming. Justin Sun also said big things are coming. So
benar
I
juga.
would expect a
Strategic
very different type
Crypto
of
reserve, guys.
vehicle than what everybody's expecting.
Bukan Bitcoin
even if
reserve
it's
ini.
legislation that's getting pushed forward, I would, reading the tea leaves, I would expect it to be a broader crypto fund that invests in things that a lot of the Bitcoin maxis aren't going to like.
I'm actually defaulting now in my brain to it not being an executive order. I think that it's going to be what Ron said. If
Kami ini baru live
Ron, if
guys,
they're
bentar.
actually meeting right now for the first
Tapi
time,
gue not
this
sure
is
guys,
gonna
ini
be
real
like,
atau enggak.
we got the SEC announcement that they're having a committee on crypto
Strategic
chaired by
Crypto
the first.
Reserve.
I bet it's gonna be something like that. That's my guess, is a committee of some sort.
Yeah, I think we were, the folks in DC, we know this takes
Wah, gila ya.
time to do a lot of these things. When some
Gila ya.
folks on Twitter or in
Market
the market
very
were freaking
volatile,
out
bro.
that on day one something didn't happen, we were trying to warn folks for a while, like, hey, like day one can mean day one, it can mean day 100, it can be week one. So these things do take time, and a lot of these announcements are going to be big relatively for DC. Like again, creation of the digital asset subcommittee in the Senate. That's huge. That's where a lot of legislation originates in crypto, and we've never had that in the Senate. So that's a big thing. And having
Okay.
Senator Lummis lead that is
Yeah.
huge. But like
That's what's gonna happen.
small things.
That's what's gonna happen. I would put my money on the fact now that it's gonna be digital asset subcommittee
Nggak,
announced.
guys,
She's
ini-
gonna be chairing it, and
I'm-
that
I'm
means
not sure,
everybody
guys,
will
ini, guys,
speculate that the first order of business will be an SPR.
Tiba-tiba ini langsung ke
Right.
1 million anjir.
That makes sense. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely rational to assume that it's not the biggest possible announcement that we could receive here. I am also just kind of segueing into the odds of what this EO would look like if it were to be in the executive order. I'm really curious to see what type of language they use. Obviously, we've heard a lot of talk about the difference between a strategic reserve stockpile and a strategic reserve, a Bitcoin strategic reserve and a Bitcoin strategic stockpile, and that those two different things are if people have sort of coalesced around like what they mean.
Doesn't
Some
need
people
it.
are
He
saying
does-
that
And you don't
they
need it,
believe
do you?
stockpile to be something
Huh?
where the
You
president is
don't
going to
need
be
it.
continuing to hold.
But I just,
Bitcoin that
I
they're
think
going
it's
to
an
have
honor
versus
to
a reserve where
the
they will
country.
be
It's a great
holding, but also
honor
buying
that this
and
group would.
continuing to add Bitcoin to that
Ini
reserve.
live
So,
gak sih?
at Satoshi Action, we've been really curious to see how this sort of unfolds.
Enggak guys, ini enggak live
We've been
guys.
paying very, very close attention to this and actually communicating with a variety of people in Washington, D.C. to sort of share our opinion on where we think it should go directionally. Personally, I believe that it is more likely that if we were to see an executive order, that it would go the stockpile route, just given that that is the promise that Trump made and it's the words that he used. In Nashville, when he made the promise, he never promised to buy Bitcoin. He only promised to keep 100% of the Bitcoin that the U.S. government currently holds. Those are his words. It's a direct quote. And so I would love to hear what other people are thinking. Maybe even Ron, if he's heard of what's going on in DC, given his position there. Ron, I just missed you. I saw you while I was at PGP breakfast. I saw you on the TV screen, but I missed you in person.
Yeah, I'm back down in Miami. I got to do a couple events, like you're speaking at
Anjir.
a conference here today as well. So
Iya guys, 2 jam lagi
back
guys.
on the EO for the reserve. I'm hearing a lot more of that on the rumor side. But again, to your point, a lot of people are confusing that with like the government actually going out and actively buying Bitcoin. That largely, in most circles, believe requires legislation, act of Congress, and so that's where like Lums's bill comes into play. But if it's just like an executive order, we can see more of a
Oh,
stockpile,
newsnya
or
enggak.
maybe they're going to make a a sovereign wealth fund or something to that extent. But it does seem like from all sorts
Enggak
of
guys,
indications,
enggak ada
there's gonna
apa-apa
be
guys.
something related to that. But we
Newsnya
try
cuma
to
ini
warn
nih,
folks in the
bentar.
market here. It just in the very, very likely not the case that they're going to be able to go out and buy millions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin.
Nah, ini guys. Ini guys, newsnya guys. Si senator itu jadi chairman-nya doang guys. Udah guys. Gak ada guys, gak ada. Ini. Gak ada guys, gak ada apa-apa guys. Trump belum ngomong, iya jam 11 ya Trump ngomong ya. Gak jadi kaya. Buset. Ya kalau chartnya kayak gini jelek banget guys chartnya guys. Eh, ya ini guys ya. Ini clone ya guys ya, ini clone. Beneran mau nge-pump followers-nya. Ya udah guys, gue rasa itu aja ya buat live kita kali ini ya. Ya bye guys. Rumis caper.